What if Tatsumaki was Deku's mother? Chapter 13. Deku sat in his dorm room, gazing out of the window. Outside, Ashito was training by punching a tree. Deku's door was open, and Bakugo walked past, noticing Deku. "What you looking at, buddy?" asked Ashito outside. "I know you two are dating now, but watching her from afar, still creepy," said Bakugo. "Oh, shut up, man. I was just thinking," said Deku. Bakugo sat down on Deku's bed and looked at his best friend with concern. "What about?" asked Bakugo. "I need to keep her safe. I know she can protect herself, but she keeps getting into trouble. When we fought the hero killer, she was almost taken by a Nomu, and the moment I saw the bruise around her neck, from the monster's grasp, I tore it apart. I couldn't handle seeing her hurt," said Deku. "She's the third strongest in this class. There aren't many who can hurt her," said Bakugo. "I don't know. We never caught Shigaraki, and all for one is to can tell Bakugo gestured to himself, making Deku laugh. "Sorry, buddy, but no," said Deku. Bakugo punched Deku in the shoulder before standing up. "Stop spying on your girlfriend and come get some good breakfast," said Bakugo. "I wasn't spying, I just zoned out," said Deku. A few days passed until Yue started up the work-study program. However, unlike in canon, Night Eye was the one who requested Deku and Ashito. They walked into the agency, accompanied by Mirio. "Sir specifically requested me as well. I'm not surprised. You guys are really strong," said Mirio. They walked into Night Eye's office and saw the hero sat at his desk doing some paperwork. "Ah, Ashito, Midoriya, please come in. Mirio, thank you for bringing them. Could you please wait outside?" said Night Eye. Mirio nodded, leaving the room, as Night Eye walked over to the young heroes. "Long time. I regret that I didn't get along with Tornado very well, but she was a fantastic hero," said Night Eye. "I'm not surprised you didn't get along. My mother always had a real issue socializing. I'm sorry she was rude to you. The way she acted was because of how she was raised. She went through a lot of hardship," said Deku. Ashito's ears perked up. She hadn't heard Deku talk about his mother like that before. "I understand. Let's get on with business. I would like the two of you to join my agency," said Night Eye. "Oh, why just us?" asked Ashito. "Because I want to see what All Might left behind. I'm curious if you are worth succeeding him and holding one for all," said Night Eye. "Sure, I'd love to work with you," said Deku. "Same here," said Ashito. "Very good," said Night Eye. Night Eye pulled out some contracts, and once they were signed, he explained the situation with Overhaul. After that, they got changed into their hero costumes and went on patrol. Ashito went with Night Eye, and Deku went with Mirio. "So, you're—" asked Mirio. Good days and bad days. I was in a dark place for a while, but I think I'm getting somewhere," said Deku. "Well, remember to keep your smile. If a member of the public sees you looking all depressed and serious, they will start feeling the same," said Mirio. Deku turned to Mirio and smiled. You sound like All Might when you say that," said Deku. At that moment, a small girl ran up the alley and crashed into Deku's leg. Reacting at his usual lightning-fast speed, Deku flicked his hand, catching the girl and lifting her onto her feet. "Whoa, careful there, you almost—" Deku stopped when he saw the blood-stained bandages wrapped around her arms and chest. "Oh, my apologies for my daughter. She is so careless when she's running around," said Overhaul. Deku's eyes widened as he spotted Overhaul, but calmed down when he remembered his training. "Oh, don't worry about it, sir. We should have been taking more care," said Mirio. "Oh, you took plenty of care. I saw how you caught her. That power, it's very similar to Tornado's," said Overhaul. "What is her brat doing here? I saw how he dismantled All for One. Don't tell me they found out about me and they called in the big guns. Perhaps it's time to relocate," thought Overhaul. "Anyway, Eri, come on, it's getting late," said Overhaul. Overhaul turned to leave, but Eri didn't follow. She clung to Deku's sleeve, shaking with fear. "It seems like she doesn't want to come with you. She's shaking," said Deku. "It's just a response to being scolded. Come on, Eri," said Overhaul. Overhaul turned again, but this time ripped his gloves away ready to take them, gripped his gloves, ready to take them off. Quick as a flash, Eri jumped off Deku's arm and ran over to Overhaul's side. Deku wanted to stop them, but Mirio stopped him. He was ready to get violent, and we might be able to handle him, but she would be in the battle. We can't risk that, said Mirio. Deku backed down, but subtly put a small amount of his energy on her. This will allow him to keep track of her and measure her current physical state. The villain left, and the heroes returned to Night Eye, where they relayed the news. A few days later, Deku and Ashido were in Deku's room, doing some homework. She was laying on his bed, whilst Deku was at his desk. Damn, I can't think straight. How can I do homework whilst that girl is out there? Said Ashido. She looked over at Deku, who was staring out the window. When a cloud covered the moon, the light faded and Ashido could see Deku's eyes softly glowing. What are you thinking about? Asked Ashido. Deku didn't respond, but his eyes pulsed with energy slightly. Hey Deku! Shouted Ashido. Deku snapped back to reality and turned to Ashido. Sorry, got distracted, said Deku. By what? Asked Ashido. Eri. She's moving around the base, said Deku. Using Deku's power, they had figured out that Overhaul's base was a secret underground level. Is that unusual? Asked Ashido. Yes. This is the first time she's left her room since I met her. Something is happening, said Deku. Well, I can't do any more work tonight. I'm knackered. How about you? Asked Ashido. Yeah, I think I'm running out of steam as well, said Deku. Ashido rolled over, giving Deku space to lie down on the bed and moved her stuff. Lay down for a bit. You've been pushing yourself recently, said Ashido. Deku did what he was told and laid down next to Ashido. He couldn't see because of her skin, but she was blushing like crazy. As soon as he hit the mattress, Ashido wrapped her arms around him and laid her head down on his chest. We will save her, I promise, said Ashido. I know, said Deku. Deku gently stroked her hair and horns as he stared up at the ceiling. It didn't take long for Ashido to fall asleep, but Deku showed no sign of resting. His eyes were still glowing softly as he stared a hole into the ceiling. What are you doing, Overhaul? Asked Deku. Meanwhile, Overhaul was dragging Eri through the maze of corridors under their base. The small girl was trying to fight back, but she didn't have a chance. This is your fault, Eri. Because of your stupidity, we have to relocate. They wouldn't bring in that kid if it wasn't serious, said Overhaul. Overhaul flashed back interview with Tornado that he'd seen on the news. In it, she made a jab towards Endeavour, claiming that her son could take him down with one hand. Of course, everyone took it as a joke, until they watched the same kid lose it on TV and dismantle All for One. Eri managed to grab a pipe to stop from getting dragged around, but Overhaul span around, slapping her across the face. Come on, Eri, we could save this world, but you were determined to keep it sick, yelled Overhaul. Eri began to cry as she was dragged off. Across the country, Deku's mind fired. What was that? Was that pain? Deku asked himself. Adrenaline started pumping in Deku's body, but he forced himself to calm down. Overhaul kept on dragging, slowly becoming more and more annoyed with Eri's crying. Shut up already, you brat, yelled Overhaul. Overhaul tore off his glove and grabbed hold of Eri. The villain pulled her back together. Eri stood there, her eyes hollow, as her body shook with fear and pain. Across the country, the Class 1A dorm shook with power as Deku shot through the wall, heading towards Overhaul at supersonic speed. Faster and faster Deku flew, his body glowing a dark green as his rage grew. He had felt Eri's energy spike, then vanish before reappearing, drenched in fear. That bastard killed her, then brought her back. I'm sorry, Eri, this is all my fault, said Deku. Deku focused, tapping into his ember of One for All for even more speed. The sunburst of speed shot Deku forward like a bullet from a gun. All across the sleep, but fully aware that half the wall was missing. Suddenly the door was thrown open and Aizawa ran in. Where is Midoriya? Said Aizawa. Ashido pointed at a green flash on the horizon, but it quickly vanished as he went beyond it. He was monitoring Eri. Something must have happened, said Ashito. Go after him. We have to. You are the best chance of getting to them in time to actually help him. I'll get Mirio and call the other heroes, said Aizawa. Ashito nodded, powering up and leaping out of the room. The already damaged dorm creaked and groaned, struggling to keep itself together. I'll make him pay for that, said Aizawa. Ashito jumped from roof to roof, using her maximum of one for all. I'm not fast enough, said Ashito. Ashito thought about something All Might had said not that long ago. Once you get above 15%, you can use air pressure as a weapon. Once it gets above 30%, you can use it to propel yourself through the air. Bear in mind, this can be dangerous and exhausting, said All Might. Looks like it's time to test drive it, said Ashito. Ashito jumped into the air and kicked behind her. Like a missile, she shot forward, picking up a decent amount of speed. I have no idea how far I have to go. In fact, where am I going? I can't even see Deku anymore, said Ashito. Why are you following me? Asked Deku. Ashito lost her focus and crashed onto a bench. You ran off so suddenly. I thought you were already so far away, said Ashito. I turned around when I felt you following me, said Deku. Deku flicked his hand, wrapping Ashito in his energy. The two of them shot off again, heading... What happened to waiting? Said Ashito. He killed Eri, then brought her back, said Deku. Ashito was stunned into silence. I will not let her suffer another day, said Deku. They were now going even faster than Deku was going before. From the ground, all people saw was green flash across the sky. Aizawa was calling other heroes. Heroes? Do you know where Eri is right now? Asked Ashito. Deku closed his eyes, focusing. They aren't at the base anymore. They're in cars, said Deku. Deku slightly adjusted course to intercept them. Meanwhile, Overhaul sat in the back of the car, with Eri beside him. Chronostasis was in front of him in the passenger side seat, with Nomoto driving. We need a completely new location. Our entire operation could be compromised, said Overhaul. They rounded the corner, then like a meteor from space, Ashito shook the door open. With his only free hand, Overhaul managed to reach out and touch Ashito. You die, hero, said Overhaul. Overhaul went to kill Ashito, but the moment his finger made contact, it snapped backwards. Overhaul screamed in pain as his forearm snapped as well, then began to bend, pinning itself to Overhaul's bicep. You will not touch her, said Deku. All of the cars were lifted off the road as Deku raised his hands into the air. His green aura clung to the vehicles, locking the doors shut, preventing anyone from helping Overhaul. Ashito kicked the door off the car and jumped free, holding Eri in his arms. No! Give Eri back to me! Screamed Overhaul. Using his unbroken arm, Overhaul destroyed the car around him and jumped towards Ashito, desperate to tear her apart. However, the pink hero was too fast. Before he could even comprehend what was happening, the villain was kicked across the jaw, then thrown violently to the ground. The concrete splintered under the force, but the villain didn't fall. Flipping backwards, he landed next to where his car had been destroyed and grabbed hold of Chronostasis and Nomoto. You filthy heroes, I will kill you all. Overhaul, Chronostasis and Nomoto's bodies were all torn apart and fused into one hideous monster. You will return, Eri, screamed Overhaul. Overhaul leapt forward, his forearms all reaching out for Ashito with scaled and twisted fingertips. Ashito jumped backwards before the pink hero kicked the villain's hands away. As Overhaul was thrown off balance, Ashito threw acid over him, that then smashed him across the jaw with a massive right hook. Overhaul howled in pain as the acid tore away at his extra arms. Powering up even further, Ashito smashed her foot into Overhaul's stomach, smashing him backwards into a building. Stand down. You have lost, said Ashito. Overhaul roared with anger, slamming his hand onto the ground, shooting massive spikes out in front of him. However, he didn't target Ashito or Deku, instead focusing the cars still floating in the air. They were torn apart, and Overhaul's companions were freed. Huh, stupid heroes, you're all going to... They were cut off when Deku flicked his wrist, lifting them all into the air. I'm sick of this, said Deku. Deku's eyes glowed as he slammed everyone to the ground. There was a loud sound of snapping bones due to the force of impact. You were all scum, said Deku. Almost everyone was unconscious, aside from Overhaul himself. Blood dripped down his face as he stared up at Deku and Ashido before him. The successors of the world's strongest stared down in disgust at the snivelling and broken villain. Too strong. You're monsters, said Overhaul. No, you're the monster, said Deku. Overhaul passed out from his wounds, leaving Deku and Ashido and Eri alone. Deku walked over to Eri and knelt down in front of her. Are you okay? Asked Deku. You beat him, said Eri. We're heroes. That's what we do, said Ashido. It didn't take long before the police and heroes arrived. They were told to expect a massive battle, but were shocked when they arrived and saw everyone lying beaten on the ground. Aizawa walked over to Deku and Ashido, who were sat with Eri. We saved her, sir. Mission. Deku was cut off when Aizawa wrapped his scarf around Deku's throat and slammed him to the ground after taking away his quirk. You could have got yourself killed, and Ashido. You're a reckless idiot, screamed Aizawa. I couldn't let them get away with Eri. Overhaul killed her and rebuilt her over and over again. I could feel her pain. There is no way I could stand back and watch, said Deku. Aizawa released Deku, letting him get to his feet. You're still stupid, said Aizawa. Aizawa walked off, taking Eri with him. Ashido stood behind Deku and put her chin on his shoulder. You doing okay? Asked Ashido. Yeah, I just wish we could have saved her earlier, said Deku. We saved her now. That's what matters, said Ashido. After this, Yue had a period of peace. They enjoyed the school festival where Ashido taught everyone to dance. Deku needed to get some supplies from a nearby shop for the show. Deku walked out, his bag floating beside him, when he almost bumped into a man outside. My boy, you almost ruined the taste of Gold Tips Imperial, said Gentle. Gentle turned to look at Deku, and his expression immediately hardened. Everyone had seen him taking All for One apart, and Gentle's blood ran cold at the sight of Deku. Oh, I'm sorry, said Deku. Deku went to walk off, then he felt something stir in the middle of his mind. I know that voice, said Deku. Gentle saw Deku stop, and realized he'd been compromised. He tried to jump away, using his quirk, but Deku was quicker. The hero snatched him up out of the air and slammed him back down to earth. Gentle criminal, what are you doing here? Asked Deku. Deku applied a little pressure, whilst floating La Brava into the air. I was going to break into UA, said Gentle. Deku's eyes burned with power. How dare you, said Deku. La Brava wiggled, but couldn't get out of Deku's power. Let go of Gentle, said La Brava. La Brava activated her quirk, massively powering up Gentle's physical strength. Slowly, the villain forced his way to his feet. Oh, you think you're strong, said Deku. Deku flicked his wrist, slamming Gentle's head into the ground, knocking him out. How pathetic, said Deku. Deku turned Gentle over to the police, then went back to UA. Everyone had a great time at the school festival, and after, Deku and Ashido were sat on the stage together. Deku was idly cleaning up as Ashido melted some rubbish with her acid. That was so much fun, said Deku. I didn't know you could already dance, said Ashido. Well, when I was a kid, Mum would teach me a few moves. It always made her smile, said Deku. Deku lowered his head slightly. You mentioned the other day that she had a rough life. Can I ask what happened? Asked Ashido. Deku sat down on the edge of the stage, and Ashido sat next to him. When she and my aunt were kids, they were kidnapped by villains. They had found out about her quirk, and were trying to make her into a weapon. They tortured the both of them, trying to awaken her hidden power, but it didn't work. But then they started on my aunt. Deku lowered his head more. Mum said she listened to her cries and screams for hours, until her mind went blank. When she awoke, the building had been destroyed, and everyone inside was dead. She had torn them apart in a blind fury, said Deku. Ashito was shocked into silence. How did you find out? Said Ashito. Mum didn't drink often, because whenever she did she would cry for hours. I would ask her why, and she would just say she wouldn't let it happen to me. Eventually I asked my aunt what was wrong and she told me, said Deku. I always knew she was a hard ass, but I never thought that was why, said Ashito. Why would you? Said Deku. Ashito put her head on Deku's shoulder. I miss them, said Deku. Me too, said Ashito. End of chapter 13. That's the end of this what if, to be honest. I could do the Class B versus Class A fight, but like Deku one-shots everyone. The end. Hope you enjoyed.